You ever seen 23 super yachts lined up in a row, their hulls gleaming like silver coins under the morning sun, all worth close to 175 million, and then out of nowhere, some woman in a cream suit and Tahitian pearls comes storming onto your dock, flanked by a squad of private security, and announces, "Your whole marina now belongs to her HOA." Yeah, that happened to me. Only thing is, Lysandra Blackthorne didn't realize she was about to get herself cuffed and hauled away by federal agents in front of 600 witnesses, all before brunch. Sometimes life really does feel like a bad crime show, except I never get to turn the TV off. Let me back up a sec, just 96 hours before all that drama. I was in a federal courthouse in Detroit putting my name on paperwork that would change everything I thought I knew about myself. Name's Garrison Wolf, 38 years old, former chief accounting officer at Neptune Shipping International until 6 months ago, when I discovered our CEO had stashed $3.2 billion in phony cargo manifest. Decided I'd rather have my conscience than my corner office, so I blew the whistle. Turns out the Whistleblower Protection Act is a beautiful thing if you're sitting on the kind of evidence that can take down an entire criminal empire. The FBI especially loved the files I had on Neptune's Great Lakes operations stuff that made it clear they'd been moving everything from stolen art to embezzled funds through those shipping lanes. My testimony got 47 people arrested. Biggest maritime fraud bust in U.S. history. The price? Well, you don't just walk back into regular life after something like that. DOJ gave me a shot at something wild, take over a seized asset, and see if I could make it legitimate. So that's how I ended up with Sterling Bay Marina. Not just a patch of docks, this was Neptune's crown jewel, a place they'd strong-armed from a man named William Sterling 5 years back after burying him in bogus environmental fines. William died 2 months after the sale. His widow blamed a broken heart. The first morning I walked the docks, Lake Michigan looked like a mirror, all steel and amber in the October sun. The marina was a city unto itself, 650 slips from diesel-stained commercial boats to mega yachts with their own power grids. My office was a relic from 1895, creaky floors, old cedar, and the scent of lake air through windows that had watched a century of storms and stories. Down in the basement behind a door labeled Historical Archives, I found a trove of records untouched and silent. That's when it hit me. If you've ever fought off an HOA or stood your ground for what's right, you're going to want to stick around, because what I'm about to tell you changed not just my life, but the legal landscape for anyone fighting property thieves. For 3 days, it was peace coffee at sunrise, the rhythm of boat engines meeting the folks who kept the place running. But on day 4, everything changed. At 9:15 sharp, a purple Rolls-Royce Dawn slid into the lot, engine purring, and outstepped Lysandra Blackthorne. 8 in heels that could pay off most folks' rent, a suit screaming old money, and a smile sharp as barbed wire. Behind her, 4 assistants in matching blazers, HOA badges, and more paperwork than a small courthouse. 3 more people, private security, easy to spot from the way they scanned the exits and didn't bother hiding the hardware under their jackets. She didn't wait for an invitation. "Mr. Wolf," she called out, "I'm Lysandra Blackthorne, president of Lakeshore Estates, HOA. We need to discuss your situation." The way she said situation made me want to check for a pulse. I kept my cool coffee mug in hand, told her Sterling Bay wasn't under any HOA. "That's where you're mistaken," she replied with a laugh like breaking glass. "This entire waterfront's governed by the Lakeshore Covenant of 1923. Your predecessor understood the arrangement. I trust you'll be equally cooperative." She swept up the steps and into my office, entourage flowing behind. Her security posted up like bouncers at a nightclub. Her assistant started snapping photos and measuring windows, no permission asked. "I haven't agreed to this meeting," I told her, blocking the door, "and your security needs to wait outside." Lysandra smiled, frostier than January. "You seem to think you have choices," she said. "This marina's been in violation for decades. We're here to correct that." Then came the offer: 72 hours to sign over control, stay on as a figurehead, or face the same fate as Sunset Harbor, Crystal Bay, Eagle Point, North Shore Marina. All names she just happened to drop. Oh, and don't bother calling the police, she added. My husband's on city council. Brother-in-law runs the biggest law firm, sheriff's my cousin. The whole thing felt choreographed, but she'd made a mistake. She gave me names. First call I made was to Patricia Stone, my lawyer from the whistleblower case, federal RICO specialist, bulldog and heels. Garrison, what you're describing isn't just bullying, it's organized crime with an HOA badge. So I dug in property records, lawsuits, ownership transfers. What I found chilled me. Every marina she'd mentioned had been forced to sell for pennies after endless legal attacks. Everyone snapped up by the same shell company, Blackthorn Maritime Trust. Each property had once belonged to the original Sterling estate, sold off as the family's fortune dwindled. That's when Judge Morrison showed up, old-school fishing vest tackle box full of legal docs. He'd spent 40 years on the bench and hated bullies. Heard Lysandra paid you a visit, he said, pouring coffee. Then he laid out the real history. The Blackthorns had spent decades trying to reclaim the Sterling marinas, losing every lawsuit. He handed me a court order, still binding, barring them from any legal claim forever. But the bombshell, the Sterling Dynasty Agreement signed in 1895, gave my property a 200-year commercial shipping monopoly, renewable unless revoked by the state. That right alone worth $500 million. That night, sleep was out of the question. In the archives, I found a hidden room behind an ancient safe, maps, cargo ledgers, even a cease and desist from 1923 warning the HOA to stay out. So why was Lysandra really after the Marina money? Sure, but Judge Morrison hinted there might be treasure. The next morning, Victor Petro, former owner of Crystal Bay, showed up swearing she was after what was beneath the docks, a rumored Prohibition-era vault stuffed with spirits from the Gilded Age worth maybe $500 million at auction. Then came the feds. Special Agent Patricia Coleman, FBI, had been tracking Blackthorn for years, tax evasion, wire fraud, racketeering. We think she's looking for something specific. If you can help us, we can nail her. I told her about the vault. She connected the dots. She's desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. That week, Lysandra hit me with every play in the HOA bully book, violation notices for everything, from flag display to boat horn noise. The real threat, failure to maintain historical standards, restore the building to 1895 for $12 million, or face $5,000 daily fines. As I read that nonsense, Victor warned me about sealed tunnels and the Brandy Vault. His grandfather had helped build it. Turns out the vault was real, and the only way to dig legally was to own the property. Pressure built fast, contaminated water supply, hacking my booking system, 7 law firms dropping $80 million in lawsuits. But Patricia Stone grinned. They just forced everything into federal court. Now they're in our world. Meanwhile, the yacht owners formed a defense fund, $20 million for legal battle. Their network reached deep. Within hours, senators, the attorney general, all called to support. The twist: Lysandra's violation notices were on special government paper, federal property, stolen forgeries. That's a crime. And then at 4:43 a.m. on the final day, my cameras caught a drilling rig on the dock, Blackthorn's crew drilling for the vault with fake permits. Everything audio, video, even Lysandra's voice giving orders recorded. Coleman's team, yacht security, even Judge Morrison were in place when the feds rolled up in black SUVs, helicopters overhead blocking every exit. Lysandra barreled onto the dock, shouting it was her property, her family's right, but Coleman took her time. Mrs. Blackthorn, you're under arrest for federal RICO violations, interstate commerce, fraud, theft of federal property, and 43 more charges. As the cuffs clicked, Lysandra screamed, "You don't know what's down there. The Sterling family stole it from mine. My great-great-grandfather's fortune is in that vault." There it was, her confession caught on camera in front of the whole marina. The drilling had struck not a treasure trove of booze, but a massive steel door hidden before Prohibition. What lay below was far bigger, a climate-controlled archive from the 1890s, packed with documents that rewrote Great Lakes history, gold certificates, bonds, deeds, even Civil War treasury notes. The real kicker: a case labeled 1897 with papers showing that Magnus Blackthorne, Lysandra's ancestor, was a Confederate spy whose assets were forfeited for treason, legally signed over to the Sterlings. For a century, her family chased a fortune they'd lost fair and square. The arrests just kept coming. Her husband laundering money at the bank, gambling it all away. Brother-in-law disbarred and jailed. The sheriff caught fleeing to Canada with $2 million in cash. At trial, the victims testified Thomas Michael, the Kowalski's David Chen's widow, who revealed her husband had taken his own life from the harassment. The jury needed only 93 minutes guilty on all 47 counts. 25 years no parole for $340 million restitution and all assets seized. The aftermath was something else. Sterling Bay became a museum, a symbol, and a lifeline slip rental requests pouring in the proceeds going to victims of HOA abuse. State laws changed, then the Homeowner Defense Act made HOA bullying a federal offense. The 4 stolen marinas were restored to their families, and the Hidden Vault's treasures helped fund preservation across the lakes. 6 months later, I married Patricia Stone right on the docks, Judge Morrison officiating, Agent Coleman as maid of honor. Our daughter Sterling took her first steps where Lysandra tried to steal everything. Yeah, poetic justice. The marina thrived, expanding, teaching a new generation that justice and community beat bullies and crooks every single time. And just when I thought the story was over, my maintenance guy found a rusted box under slip C7. A journal from Adelaide Sterling revealing the vault was just a decoy. 7 other marinas, 7 pieces of a secret called the Covenant, hidden across all 5 Great Lakes. The Blackthornes weren't just chasing gold, they were chasing their lost future. Now with Lysandra in prison, her own daughter wants to finish the search, but this time for the right reasons. So let me ask you, what would you do if your family's legacy came down to a battle between truth and a century of lies? Would you dig for treasure or fight to defend what's right? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share your own war stories with HOAs, and hit subscribe for more tales of justice done right. Because in the end, integrity beats entitlement every single time. And somewhere out there, the real secret of the Great Lakes is still waiting to be found.